Welcome to PTSD, Bunker Gear for your brain. I'm your host, Carl Waggett. Welcome to the evening PTSD report. Guys, happy Friday to you. I hope you've had a fantastic week. I hope it's treated you well. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, on the show this week, I've had a fantastic week. I've really enjoyed this one. And the reason why, guys, is what we're looking at this week is, well, we're really talking to the family and the loved ones of people that suffer from this PTSD, depression, anxiety. And look, by no means are we curing it this week, but what we're doing is we're trying to turn a few lights on. Because look, I truly believe that if the loved ones or the family members or whoever kind of understands what you're going through, guys, this improves your odds of beating this so much more. And guys, this is the problem that I had. I really found that this PTSD, depression, anxiety, what it did was it cut off your comms. Not that you weren't able to talk to anybody, but I found it extremely difficult to try and explain what the hell was going on. So look, that's why I really wanted to do this week, was kind of take a week and kind of explain what is going on with your loved ones. And not really as much the warning signs, but guys, the byproducts from those warning signs. So guys, as I said, when I found that I couldn't talk and I couldn't explain what was going on, this is when this whole isolation thing started to take hold of me. And you know what? I kind of started pulling back from people. And in the last episode, we kind of talked about this people going on an island, and they don't feel like they can communicate with people. And guys, this is when it gets really serious. So guys, just to sum up the last show before we get on with tonight's show, on Wednesday night there, we took a look at this whole, look, everything that we see has an effect on us in some way. We talked about this thing of why do people in the emergency services get so serious? Sometimes this happens to people. Well, guys, a little bit of common sense here. When you see the kind of stuff that they see all the time, well, it's just a matter of time before that leaks into your day-to-day. Now, I'm not saying this happens to every single person out there, but there are people that work in the emergency services, and for some strange reason, they feel like they never stop working. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not clocked in, they don't have the uniform on, but I'll tell you what, they're scanning a crowd no different than what they are at work. So the problem is the seriousness seems to take over. And I'll tell you what, if a relationship doesn't know this is going on, hey, I'll tell you what, it can definitely make for fun times when you're serious all the time. Okay, so what is the subject that we're going to cover tonight? Well, guys, I've left the best for last because I think this one is the most confusing. Now, look, guys, we're not talking about rageful situations where PTSD just drives you to the breaking point, and we're not talking about a situation where you sit in the corner and have a good cry. The situation that I'm talking about tonight is when an individual just seems to go cold. Yeah. They're not mad at anything. They're not sad at anything. Just for some strange reason, they're flatlined. Now, this can be a very scary sensation for an individual as well as a family member, because what this family members are noticing is this individual is kind of, well, it appears like they're pulling back from everybody. And it's not that they don't care. It's like they don't have an opinion anymore. Now, the frustrating thing about this is if you try to confront somebody who's dealing with this, look, you're probably going to get a bunch of smart-ass answers, right? Because for the simple reason, my family members tried to ask me about this. Like, Carl, what the hell is going on? And, the answer I gave every single time was, nothing. I'm fine. What are you talking about, right? So the problem is if you're starting to notice this with your loved ones, well, how do you go up against this? Well, the interesting thing about this, guys, is this is a real brain thing. This is something that people in the emergency services, their brains do this like a self-defense mechanism, if you want. Now, look, we're talking about the lines of work like, the emergency services, which is police, fire, ambulance, and dispatch, obviously. We talk about correctionals and Coast Guard, military, nurses. Look, basically, we're talking about any line of work that assists people. Okay? That can be old age homes, that can be anything like that. But people that work in the line of work that help people, they have an enormous amount of empathy. And I think this is fair to say, right? Now, the problem is when these individuals start to feel like they're going cold. Now, this is, believe it or not, an absolutely train wreck scenario at home. Yeah, because you would think if you didn't get mad or you didn't get sad, that would actually be kind of good. But trust me, when you don't feel anything, that can get even more confusing. Now, if you want to make it even more confusing, guys, this is one of the greatest assets you'll ever have at work. Think about this for a second. Think about if you never felt emotion. Right? Every call that you went to, you never felt anything. Let me tell you something. I think that would pay enormous dividends, wouldn't it? But the problem is with this going cold in a personal standpoint is, well, it looks very similar to somebody falling out of love. Yeah. And sometimes you'll hear about this in the emergency services where a partner, well, they just go cold. It's not like they get angry. It's not that they get pissed off at the relationship. For some strange reason, they just Well, they're just a cold fish, aren't they? And this happens to a lot of people in the emergency services where, you know what, all of a sudden people just, well, there's no emotion. There's no passion. And guys, I'm not talking about from a romantic standpoint. I'm just talking about a passion for life. You know, waking up in the morning and going, hey, all right, let's get after it. All of a sudden that just seems to be gone. And we seem to stay with this flat line scenario. Now, look, guys, let's just bring the obvious into it. When you're working in the emergency services, you go to bad shit. Okay? There's just no way around it. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you a whole bunch of wicked bad calls because, look, for those people out there that get triggered, what happens is, you know, your heart rate goes up, adrenaline goes in, and then you don't hear a damn word I'm saying. So, guys, I'm going to stick away from the gross stories, but what the general public has to understand is the magnitude of the emotions when we go to calls. Now, guys, I've said this before in other podcasts. Look, nobody calls 911 dispatch to say, oh, listen, no emergency here. Just wanted to let you guys know that me and my family are having a wonderful barbecue. There's nothing wrong here. I know you guys get terrible phone calls all the time, but I just wanted to take time and let you know that our family's doing just fine and dandy. Well, we never get calls like that for obvious reasons. That's a bit silly. But the thing is the calls we get are to the same family barbecue, but let's say in this scenario, oh, I don't know, little Jimmy is jumping on the trampoline with his hot dog in hand, like his mom and dad said he shouldn't, but the fact of the matter is he's 6 years old and he doesn't listen, right? So he jumps up, falls off the net, before you know where you are, boom, hot dog's lodged in the throat, and little Jimmy isn't breathing anymore. Well, the family calls 911, obviously catastrophic. In our city, it takes about 5 minutes to get to any location. Can you imagine what that environment is like by the time we get there? This 6-year-old kid hasn't been breathing for 5 minutes. Can you imagine seeing your kid not breathing for 25 seconds? Yeah. So the thing that I'm getting at here is, look, even though that is not a gross call, you can understand how heightened and emotional that call is. Obviously, parents are a mess. Grandparents are worried. Everybody's running around frantic. But the fact is, it's a highly, highly emotionally charged call. Okay, now look, as we've established before, when emergency services go to calls like this, believe it or not, your brain actually gives you a pass from these calls. Now, I'm not saying for a second that you can't think or you don't remember anything, but what I think you'll find is when you go to calls like this, you'll notice that your emotions, well, they get checked at the door. You know, and you don't feel them as much as you usually would. And that's your brain kicking in so you can work, right? Bottom line. Okay, because look, most of us, all of us have kids, okay? And the ones that don't have kids, you know, we have nieces and nephews. The fact of the matter is guys, we couldn't go to every call and feel every emotion. Come on. It would absolutely crack us. You know, it really would. Can you imagine going to every call and feeling the same stuff the family feels? You'd be a basket case at the end of every single shift. So the fact is that our brain, well, it wants to protect us. Yeah, it really does. So the thing is, when it feels emotional pain like that, well, it shuts us down. Because remember, the brain doesn't know the difference between physical pain and emotional pain. The fact of the matter is the brain hates pain, and that's all there is to it. Now, it wasn't until I started to learn about this stuff that I used to think back over the calls. Look, I'll tell you what, after being on the job 4 or 5 years, I can remember going to horrific calls and going back to the hall, eating lunch, going, I didn't feel anything. Like, nothing. And see, the thing is, guys, don't be the dick I was, right? I thought I was some kind of superhero, like, oh, I didn't feel anything. I had no idea how the brain worked. So as far as I was concerned, I was like, well, you know what? I think I've got this thing cracked. I don't feel anything. So you know what? I just keep doing it over and over and over again. So it seems to work out brilliantly. The one thing that I was kind of worried about, how are you going to react? Well, I find out that I don't feel anything when I go to these calls. Now, the thing is you've got to understand that if you do that over and over and over again, after 10, 15 years of calls, well, believe it or not, guys, your brain, it's a learning muscle. Yeah, and it starts to realize that, hey, listen, when we start to feel emotion or something like that, our brain just shuts us down. Yeah, we just don't feel it. It's cool. It works out really, really good. So, you know, after an extended period of time in the emergency services or correctionals or anything like that, military, well, any time that we feel emotion, guess what? Our brain goes, fuck off emotion. We're working. I don't want to hear anything about it. So we get really, really good at this. Now, guys, as I said, this is fantastic at work. You can't beat this. You go to an extrication that's really, really greasy, a really, really bad one or good one, whichever way you look at it, right? And the fact is, if you don't feel anything, guys, you can work and you can concentrate and you can communicate and everything works out great. But the problem is, this doesn't work out so good when you're at home with your loved ones. You see, the problem is that your brain doesn't really know the difference between stress at work and stress at home. Okay, and the thing that I found personally, when you go really, really cold, you can say some really hurtful shit. Yeah, and it's absolutely amazing how those words just roll off your lips, and it doesn't even bother you. Like, I remember thinking, like, I couldn't believe how easy it was to be so harsh. And it was easy for me. But like I said, guys, the problem is that our brain doesn't really recognize the difference between being on a country road in February at 2:30 in the morning doing an extrication around a telephone pole or being in a fight with our kids. See what I mean? And the problem is that if you don't feel anything, that can have catastrophic effects on your relationship. But what people don't realize is that people that work in these line of work, that go to these calls on a daily basis, is, well, they're refining this skill set their whole career. And you got to realize this is a self-defense mechanism. Okay, you know, some people use dark humor, you know, whatever you want to do, right? But the fact is that your mind will jump in eventually and go, okay, look, we're not feeling this stuff anymore. Okay, so seriously, it's too painful. It's doing a number on us. But the problem is like I said, when you're living in a relationship, you know, with a husband or a wife or your kids, look, there's going to be heated moments. Okay, there's no way around that. You know, getting angry at your teenage kids for pissing you off is like getting angry at a dog for barking when the doorbell rings. I mean, kids are going to piss you off. But the problem is if you're starting to lose that emotion, you come off like you don't give a shit. You know, and it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, kids are yelling, screaming, whatever, right? You know, I think every teenage boy at some point, you know, stands up and goes, that's it, I'm out of here. I can do better on myself. You know, I'm leaving and whatever. Well, it's devastating when you're sat there and you're watching them and you just go, bye, because you can't feel anything. Right? Because, you know, after so many years in the emergency services of turning emotion off, I'll tell you, you don't get to decide when to turn it on or not. Right? And look, you take any kid in the planet that's been neglected, right? And they'll tell you right off that a parent that just doesn't give a shit will let you do anything. Really. I mean, the hardest thing in the world to say to a kid is no. But the problem is when you don't have that emotion and you don't have the, you know, the whatever, I couldn't really care because your mind doesn't even let you feel stuff. The problem is you can let a lot of shit go and not even realize it. So the biggest thing that I really want people to understand, if you have a loved one that's suffering from this PTSD, depression, or anxiety, and they're in the emergency services, what you have to understand, guys, is that, look, this is their brain protecting them. Yeah. I mean, when you see stuff like that on a daily basis, trust me, your mind is going to jump in at some point and go, okay, look, we've felt enough, right? I mean, the problem with this is if you don't understand how this works, this can really send your life for a shit. Like, it really can if you don't understand. And look, please take it from me. I don't care how great your life at work is. I don't care how many people love you at work and how much respect you have. If your home life is shit, your life is shit. Okay? It's just the way it works. You know, the number of people that put all the stock in work, and you know what? I've got all the respect and everything there, but you know what? At the end of the day, guys, they make you retire. You know, and I don't want people to see the same mistake because really this turning emotion off thing, like I said, guys, it's really here to protect us. Because if you were to feel everything, like I said, this would do a number on you. So loved ones, you know, friends and family, if those people with PTSD, depression, anxiety, they're not turning into assholes. They're really not. But guys, what you have to understand is they've had years and years of refining the skill set. Right? So they don't feel things at calls because, well, quite frankly, guys, it is extremely painful. And if you feel it constantly, guys, look, eventually your brain is just going to say, okay, that's it. No, you're not feeling anymore. And this happens to people. Now, look, I'm not saying that this happens to everybody. So for you people out there that are in the emergency service and you're going, okay, Carl, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. But dude, I don't feel that at all. Hey, kudos to you. I think that's incredible. The ones that I'm speaking to tonight are the ones that go, So I can't figure out why I don't feel anything anymore. And sometimes this happens to people, and I'll tell you, when you stop feeling stuff, well, guys, it's a terrible feeling. Even though it's wonderful not to feel it on calls, guys, I've been in situations where, I don't know, take a summer walk down by the river and I'm eating an ice cream with my kids, and I'm thinking to myself, I should be having more fun than this because I don't feel anything. Even though it's such a wonderful moment, it's like I don't feel anything. And guys, I wouldn't wish this on anybody because, like I said, it is an incredible, incredible benefit to have this skill set at work. To be able to go into calls and not feel anything is incredible. But guys, I think we all understand in our personal life, guys, we have to feel something. So unfortunately, if we don't understand this is happening, guys, this will start more fights in family relationships than anything I know out there. And like I said, do I have a solution for this? No. In this podcast, I do not have a solution for this. All I wanted to do was let you guys know sometimes what happens. Because you'll hear from family, loved ones, whatever, that all of a sudden they went cold. It was just like they weren't there anymore. And guys, what this can do is this can cause divorces. Like, it really can. And to know what is actually happening, guys, this can be reversed. Or at least if you understand it, you know what's going on. The problem with me is I just thought I didn't give a shit about anybody anymore. Which was really, really strange because the only reason I got into this line of work was because I cared for people. So I thought for some strange reason my entire personality was starting to change. And guys, it really isn't that at all. Like I said, it's your brain just going, okay, look, man, you're seeing a lot of really weird shit right now. So if it's okay with you, we're going to cut the emotions out when you get there. But like I said, in our personal lives, when the pulse gets raised a little bit, because emotions come into life, come on, that's just part of it. The problem is our brain's already there to go, nah, emotions, I think we'll check that because we know from experience we can work better without them, right? Just remember, the brain gives zero shits how happy you are. It just doesn't want you feeling pain. That's all. And emotion, hey, as great as it can feel, guys, it can be very, very painful as well. So guys, how's my time? Oh, good, only 20 minutes tonight. Guys, it's a Friday night. I don't want to keep you too long. I really don't. I want you guys out there having fun. Seriously, it's so important to me. But guys, as I said, I was really looking forward to doing this week because I feel for the family members. Because nothing worse than seeing a loved one go through something and you're trying to get information and they can't give it to you, and it just causes frustration right across the board. I think as long as the family understands what you're all fighting together, guys, you can go off and fight this demon together. And I'll tell you what, when you fight this together, it makes life so much easier. It really, really does. So guys, what have I got for you next week? Oh, good. You know what we're doing next week? It's a week of WAGs. Yes, of course, I'm bringing it back. I haven't done this for a while, but look, what I do on a week of WAGs is I take 3 very personal stories, bit embarrassing, but I think it'll benefit you guys the most. And what this is tips on how to get over this PTSD, depression, anxiety. Not only that, well, how to kind of get it to work for us and how we can understand it better. And some of the best tips that I used to pull myself out of this really dreadful hole, which is PTSD, depression, and anxiety. So guys, there you have it. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. It truly means the world to me. I really hope you enjoyed this week on family members. And guys, listen, if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me on Facebook, on our Facebook page there, PTSD Bunker Gear for Your Brain, or drop me a line on my email at carl@ptsdbunkergearforyourbrain.com. That is one of the longest emails I've ever created. I don't know why I did that. Anyways, all besides the point. And guys, before I let you go, you know I got to let you in on our little bunker room. It's a private support group. Oh, I had a tickle in the throat there. I knew I was going to make it. So anyways, what this private group is, you know what, it's no bells and whistles, just a bunch of people in there that, suffer from this PTSD, depression, anxiety. Hey, there's a bunch of therapists and doctors in there as well, and basically people just post up stuff that's happening in their life so you guys can get a better perspective, so you know you're not the only one going through this stuff. Trust me, I think it pays huge dividends. If this sounds like something that's in your wheelhouse and you want to check it out, guys, send me a friendship request to Carl Wagon on Facebook, and I'll send you an invitation to the bunker room free of charge. It's how I roll. So guys, there you have it. Happy Friday night. I hope you go out there and have fun. Ooh, it's a bit cool where I am, but anyways, it might be nice where you are. Guys, family members, ones that suffer from this stuff, the sooner we can start working together, guys, the sooner we can start understanding this. And guys, you start fighting as a team, it just makes life so much easier. And guys, don't be afraid to tune in next week. Well, Sunday morning, I'm going to have a week of WAGs. Yes, all kinds of interesting stories there about all kinds of different ways that, well, maybe a little unconventional, but guys, things to really take the knees out of this PTSD, depression, anxiety. Anyways, you guys take care of yourself. I'm going to grab myself a sody pop. I'll jump in the comment section, say hi to everybody. But you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll have that podcast for you Sunday morning. You guys take care of yourself. Bye now.